What's good, y'all? It's your boy Lucky. Today, I want to talk about the time I was homeless in LA for a few months. Before I do, though, I just want to let y'all know that all the stories I tell on my channel are alleged. Any people, events, circumstances that coincide with any person or event is completely coincidental and fictional. But hey, some of this shit might actually happen. So if the Fed's watching, it wasn't me. Okay, now that we got that out the way, I want to set the story up for you. I moved to LA when I was 21. I grew up in bumfuck nowhere, and I never really felt like I fit in where I lived. I used to watch all the celebs and influencers out in LA, and it just looked so magical and beautiful. I knew from a very, very young age that LA was the place for me. A place where no one knew me and I could just be whoever I wanted to be. But up until then, it was just a pipe dream. That was until me and a group of friends of mine were presented with a business opportunity that would take us out to the West Coast. At the time, I was in between jobs. I was just doing little hustles to stay afloat. I didn't have any kids or anything like that, so I had nothing to lose. We went all in, and we went out there with $2,000 between the six of us. So we got the business started, and all six of us lived under one roof for 2 years. In that time, our business really took off. By the end of those 2 years, all six of us were millionaires. For the next 3 years, we would live the life that many people dream of. Now look, we weren't famous or anything, but you would think we were celebrities the way we were rolling. Between us, we had 12 cars, everything in our closet was real designer, real jewelry, all the silly childish stuff we wanted as kids but couldn't afford. We got all that. I'm smiling just thinking about it. We decided it'd still be best to stick under one roof, but we upgraded the crib to a bigger house in the hills. Honestly, man, life was truly amazing. All the things I dreamed about as a kid were finally happening. I honestly thought this was going to be my life forever. Now for when shit hits the fan. Well, to be honest, look, it didn't really hit the fan. It was like a slow bleed. The funny thing about losing everything is that most people think it's like one or two cataclysmic events that like ruin a person. But from my experience, it's a slow bleed. So slow that by the time you notice you're bleeding, it's often too late. Something started to fester in the house. A growing resentment seemed to fill the air the last few months between some of the friends. The thing is, right, even though all of us were contributing to the business and were making good money, not everybody contributed equally. That's just a fact of life. Two of the people in our group who quite frankly did the least suddenly felt like they were entitled to more than they actually were. Couple this with the fact that the business we were in began to dry up a little bit, and you got a recipe for conflict. In short, this caused them to fall out with us and return back home. To be honest, no one saw it coming. They just up and left one night, left all their shit, and went to start over. Never contacted us again. Despite whatever resentment they might have had with us, again, no one saw this coming. It honestly hurt us. I had known these people well before we came out to LA. We were good friends. We worked together, hustled together, ran from the law together, cried together. We knew each other's families well. We even considered each other family. I wish there was some sort of conclusion to this, but to this day, I haven't spoken with them. Thankfully, the business didn't need them to keep going, so we just kept doing our own thing. I'd say the only good thing that came out of it is that they made me even closer with the other people. So the business kept going for a while, but eventually dried up completely. Luckily though, me and the group were still liquid on our own and decided to start another business. I'll spare you the details, but basically we were in over our heads. The project we took on was too expensive. We kept shoving money into the business, hoping it would make a profit. Contractors ripped us off, debt started to pile up, and quite frankly, the paperwork wasn't right. But what I just said was over the course of like 4 years. So again, it didn't happen all of a sudden. I learned recently about the sunken cost fallacy and how people decide to stick with something despite knowing that it won't work out. They justify it with the fact that they've already sunk so much time, money, and effort into it and feel like starting new would be a bad idea. So fast forward 4 years and another two of us went home. One had a family issue and they couldn't stay. Honestly, I can't fault them for that one. It was important. The other one, it's more complicated. That's a wild story for another day. So now it was just me and my bro. We were living in a cheap, tiny apartment at the time. We absolutely hated it. We were just so distraught that things didn't work out the way we thought. The thing is though, it would only get worse. We couldn't afford the cheap apartment either, so we got booted out. We needed a place to stay. We also had a lease on a warehouse too that we were being evicted from. But commercial evictions take a little bit longer to facilitate, so we had a place to stay for now. Thankfully, the warehouse was kind of nice. It had a bathroom, AC, we had a big office that we had decorated to make the place nice to stay in. It was cool for a while, to be honest. We did little jobs and hustles wherever we could just to be able to eat, but nothing big came our way. We were still on our way down. We were able to land a decent gig that paid us 15 grand, so now we had to decide what to do. We owed much more than that in rent, so paying them wouldn't even buy us more time. We needed to find another place that could also double as a place of business, so we looked for another warehouse. The thing is, we had 4 days to leave the property, so we had to act fast. We landed a place much cheaper and shittier than the other one, in a much worse location. This place sucked. It had mold, rats, no shower, no AC, dusty as fuck, just an absolute hazard. The place didn't have an office either, so we just laid out air mattresses in the middle of the floor. The area was crazy too. One night I went out for a smoke and opened the door to 20 police raiding the next door building. I hit them with the hardest white people smile I could, and I took my ass back inside. On calmer nights, junkies would be outside shrieking and fighting. One guy got shot a few feet from our door. Another one even tried to break in while we were sleeping. This was just some of the things we saw. Honestly though, all that shit aside, the absolute worst part of it all was not showering regularly. We didn't have a car at the time and the closest gym was like 6 miles away. So whenever we got a little bit of bread, we'd book a hotel and just shower there. We probably did that like once every 2 weeks maybe. The rooms weren't anything special, bruh, but you would think I was staying at the Waldorf the way I enjoyed that shit. If I ever got too disgusting, we had these wipes at the warehouse lying around called Gorilla Cloth. It's basically a giant wet wipe, but for industrial equipment. And I'd do what I could with those, but dude, they gave me the worst rash ever. I don't recommend that shit. At this point, you're probably wondering, why the fuck don't you just go back home? The most honest answer I could give you is pride. Nobody knew about our situation. For the last few years, everyone back home thought I was a millionaire still. I'd post like old shit on IG just to keep the illusion alive. I didn't want to return to them and embarrass myself. Because growing up, I always talked a huge game to whoever I was around. I had convinced everyone, including myself, that I was destined to be some kind of big shot. I carried myself that way, and that came with a lot of arrogance and shit talking. To be fair, nobody's world revolves around me, so I doubt anyone actually gave a shit and was even thinking about me, aside from like my parents. But that was my reasoning. Long story short, we get kicked out, but it's not all bad. We had gotten enough money to cop a shitty little apartment. Shortly after, I had a personal matter I couldn't ignore, and I didn't have much choice but to go back home. But me and my day one continued to work together. He decided to stay in LA, and we started another business, one that we can run remotely. I told my parents what happened when I got back, and they were cool about it. They were just glad we were okay. I really don't talk to anyone from back in the day anyway, so as far as they know, I'm still out there. Things got better and the business became profitable. It's not even close to what we once made, but it's growing slowly and intelligently. We've been doing it ever since, and we'll see how it ends. Honestly, for all the ups and downs in my experience out there, I got an education, the kind you can't always get from school. I feel like a completely different person than the cocky little shit that went out there. I learned about humility. I learned that I'm not better than anyone else and everyone's got their own skeletons in their closets. I learned to not look at people doing worse than me and think to myself, oh, that could never be me. I learned that all the flashy, expensive, and cool shit that I completely overpaid for isn't worth much when you're trying to resell it. I learned to put money in things of actual value, appreciating assets. I paid over $2 million in rent over those 7 years. I could have easily bought a home out there for that much money, but I wanted to stay in some impressive shit. I learned that one of the keys to doing good business is having proper paperwork, from contracts, taxes, to regular organization. That shit will save your ass when all of it is on point. Also, don't put all your eggs in one basket. The truth is, what works today might not work tomorrow, so you have to remain adaptive. Diversify the things you invest in, whether that's time, money, or relationships. Another thing I learned is that fast money, instant success isn't always good. Sometimes the things that last take more time and effort. All in all, I don't really know where life will take me. I don't think my life is peaked yet, but I could also be wrong. Whatever it is, I'm here for the ride. If you've listened this far, I appreciate you for sticking with me. I hope you got something from it. Thank you for watching, and remember, whether times are good or times are bad, this too shall pass. Stay blessed.